Hello and welcome to the Side Netting podcast, the place where we discuss all the latest goings on in the world of football, play a couple of games, and almost definitely go off on a tangent or two. I'm joined, as always, by my friend, my cousin, but most importantly, my co-host, Kieran Burke. Kieran, how are we getting on?
Good evening, one and all. I am very good. As we were just saying before we jumped on, only a day left at work before breaking up for Christmas, so the spirits are high.
They're kicking you out early there. You'd love to see it.
Oh, I wish they were kicking me out early because then I wouldn't have had to have used all my annual leave up. But pre-booked ahead.
Oh, he's prepared. We love a prepared man.
We've got to be prepared. Couple of weeks off, chill out. And just
Talking
enjoy.
Of prepared, man, as you approach leaving work and getting well into the old festive season, how prepared are you for Christmas?
Well, we're going a bit light a touch this year in terms of presents. So to be fair, I've not had to do large amounts of prep myself this year. It's been quite a chilled out one, which actually makes a nice change. And my mother's doing the Christmas dinner this year, so there's not really much I've had to prepare at all. I'm just chilling out, living the dream.
Parenting aside, is living his best. Not a finger to be lifted.
I know. Living in dreamland over here. So we're all good. What about yourself, pal? How have you been getting on?
Yeah, we're all good, all going well. Christmas party has been and gone. No one disgraced themselves. That's always a tick in the box for me.
And no meetings with HR booked in for this morning?
No, we're in the clear. So that's always a nice way to go.
Well, did you think that was a promotion coming your way? That meeting that got set up.
As I always say, if you think no one's disgraced themselves, usually that means it's you. So I think we're in the clear.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll wait to see how that develops in the next.
We'll see how that develops in the new year. But aside from gearing up towards Christmas ourselves, the Premier League just keeps rolling, kids. Another weekend been and gone, and we prepare ourselves for another weekend of predictions. Now, the score is currently 57 to 43. So a 14-point gap in the overall.
Been furthered, has it? I think I done all right last week from memory.
We obviously did a double last week. So in the first lot, you won 3-1. In the second lot, it was 2-2.
Okay.
So you got another 2-point gap there, which means I need to get all 5 results and scorelines correct, with you getting none to win before Christmas, which means I have not prepared a single result because my results will depend on what you've put down. So I have to go opposite with a different scoreline to stand any chance, which to be fair, completely screw myself in terms of the big picture across the season. But we've got to go for it. Go big or go home.
I like it. You got to go bold sometimes.
Yeah. So. You've well won the overall. The overall, you're 11-7 up. 4 of those weeks, I should say, were draws, including last weekend. So 11-7.
I'm a bit like Brentford, absolute draw merchant.
It's all those Brentford draw predictions that have done you so well, kids.
Well, I'm not going to give the score away just yet, but you might be a bit surprised about my Brentford prediction for this week.
That might help me out, to be fair.
It might.
Okay, let's get into it. Let's find out. Let's start off with Newcastle against Fulham. A bad week for Newcastle. A bad 7 days. And Fulham coming off 2 mad results. 2 5-0s in a row. Do you reckon they can keep that going, kids? They're not going to Luton, unfortunately, but they're going to St James's Park.
That is a little bit of a trickier situation. I think we've given up on that dream now. So no Luton.
Arsenal was so close. Yeah. So close to giving us what we want.
Anyway, we'll get our own bank cards out for the darts, which is a real shame. I think, Fulham have been absolutely flying, which has kind of come out of nowhere, really. They weren't overly impressive at all so far this season, and then they've just whacked out 2 5-0s. So, bit of a shocker. I have gone 1-0 Newcastle. I just think they have had a tough week or so. I just think they'll kind of stabilise. They're at home, which we've discussed, home versus away form for Newcastle, and the big difference that 100%. Usually has on their results. So I do see Newcastle getting back on track with a win, but I don't think it will be an easy one by any means. But you look at Newcastle this season, the amount of 1-0ers that they've come out with. Obviously, they beat us 1-0. Yeah, hate to bring that up, but they did beat us 1-0. So, yeah, I've gone 1-0 Newcastle for that one.
Yeah, well, as you say there, St James's Park is as close as a fortress, as in the league at least, as teams can get to these days. So it's going to be a very tricky game. Based on your scoreline there, kids, I could go easy and go for a draw, but let's make it interesting. Let's go 2-1 Fulham.
Ooh.
On that one myself.
It's possible.
They're on a very good run. Like, if you include, in their last 3 games, they've won 3 out of 4, and their loss was that 4-3 against Liverpool. So they're on a very good run. As you mentioned there, 2 5-0s in a row. I don't think it's going to be that level, but they're on a very good run. Momentum is with them. Momentum is very much not with Newcastle. The only saving grace for Newcastle is the way they just turn up when they're at home. So yeah, we're going to go 2-1 Fulham for myself. More for saviour purposes than really what I expect. I'd say a Newcastle 1-0 and maybe a little bit closer if you get my actual prediction. But we're making this interesting. We're going broke. We're going 4 broke. And we're going 2-1 there. So up next, we have Chelsea, 1 win in 5 against new manager bounce movers Sheffield United.
Yeah, I do. It's hard to say anything other than a Chelsea win, despite their form, despite the fact, obviously, Sheffield United, good result for them last week. And as you say, bit of new manager bounce. I did put into our group chat. I saw a Chris Wilder masterclass coming and Sheffield United to stay up, which would align with my pre-season prediction for them to finish 17th. Still a long way off yet. They are still bottom of the table, but you never know. But saying all that, I do see Chelsea coming back. It's just mad, really, with Chelsea, isn't it? Because it looks like after that run of games where they drew to us, they drew to City, they drew to Spurs, you thought they were really going to kick on.
They beat Spurs.
Oh, sorry, yeah, beat Spurs, of course, yeah. You thought they were really going to kick on, and like they were scoring goals, and then they've just gone back to square one again. So a bit of a strange one with Chelsea. They just can't seem to get in any sort of rhythm. But I do think they'll have a bit too much quality for Sheffield United. With the new manager bounce, you do usually see it for the first game, and then it sometimes slowly fades away.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but I think they've had their big win against Brentford last weekend, Sheffield United, and I think they'll come back down to earth at Stamford Bridge. So I've gone 2-1 Chelsea in that one.
Well, I guess we're going to have to go for... we'll stick with the 2-1 themes. And this, for me, is more likely than the previous result at St James's Park.
Do you think?
Well, Stamford Bridge isn't exactly what you'd call a fortress, is it? Like, you've seen teams and lower-level teams as well go there and beat them. Obviously, they're only in that position due to the 10-point deduction, but they just lost to 17th in the table in Everton, 3-0 last week. They're on a terrible run. I think we're going to say this about a few managers today, Kiers. Is Poch in danger?
I think he could be. I think we discussed before the season started. I think they'd give him till after Christmas, personally, if not the whole season. But
feels like the revolt really is coming already from just scouring across Twitter and things like that, and the things you hear.
Seen a few things about Mourinho. Chelsea fans wanting Mourinho back.
After how well Mourinho's done in the last, 10 years?
Well, he's doing a decent job at Roma. I think they're 4th in the league, and he's not got really any investment into that team.
With all due respect to Roma, though, it's a very big difference.
Yeah,
being comfortable with Roma and challenging or wanting to be challenging with Chelsea, it's a very.
There is the argument.
Situation.
Chelsea are doing so bad at the minute, though. It's like even if he came in and won a couple of games, he'd get a lot of good PR from it. Let's say, and obviously he's already got that love. We spoke about Havertz at the start of the season and how he would be given less time because he's ex-Chelsea. I think the same's to be said for Pochettino being ex-Spurs. I do think it can change very quickly. And when you think about the money they've spent, they should be doing better than they are. I'm not saying they should be the top of the league, but to be sat in 12th, nearly halfway through the season, is disgraceful, as Mikel Arteta would say.
Disgracia.
Disgracia. Oh, pulling out the language barrier card for a man that's played in England. It's beautiful, but we love to see it.
An absolute hero.
But enough about Mickey. I've gone 2-1. I've gone 2-1.
Yeah, as I say, I can't say I'd be surprised. Wilder back there, the way he's always played with that Sheffield United team, I reckon we could be seeing a little return to that kind of thing, frustrating Chelsea, frustrating all of Stamford Bridge. We'll probably get a few more boos there this weekend, and it may not have been what I'd have gone with, but I can't say I'm happy being left with a 2-1 Sheffield United there. We'll see how they get on.
The way you're scoring when you go with what you want, it might be just as well. You're not. Just go for the opposite to what you think, and you might be in with a chance here.
Never trust your instincts. That's what I've learned over the last 17 game weeks.
Well, I learnt the opposite last week when I fluffed that final question and went against the instincts. So there you go.
It's nice that you're over it now, though.
I'm not over it at all. I've been fuming all week.
We'll move on. While you fester there on the quiz last week, we'll move on to another team with only one win in 5, Brentford against Aston Villa.
Yes, and I'm going against the form books here. I'm going 1-0 Brentford.
Oh no, okay.
So I just think I've got a feeling Villa, as well as they're doing, surely it's got to come crashing down at one point. And I think Brentford is the opposite to the sort of team that Villa want to play, because they like playing against nice open teams. For me, it suits Villa more to play a City or an Arsenal than a Brentford, because the way they play it's like not just counter-attacking. They play some amazing football and the quality on the ball is unbelievable, but it suits them to play against a more open team that play that fluid football. Brentford, you look at when we played there the other week, we scraped a 1-0 win, but they'll frustrate the life out of Villa, and they've got the quality.
That is the word with that Brentford team. When they're on it, and I feel like playing a Brentford will push them up that rank. So that's where they seem to sometimes struggle. Is like obviously they lost to Sheffield United last week, it's a prime example. Is they do struggle with teams that are going to make them come at them. Whereas they're a lot better where frustrating teams and then working their way on the counter-attack bit more. And I think that does come from not having Tony or any out-and-out striker up at the middle, where you've got to bring your Mbuemos and Vissers in through the centre. It changes the way they build up, I feel like.
Yeah, and Mbuemo's injured now as well, isn't he?
Of course he is. Yeah, he is.
So even factoring that in, I do still see a bit of a run against the form guide would suggest, but obviously Mbuemo's a massive loss for them. So perhaps.
Yeah, the thing with Villa, they've lost one game in 12, and every time they've come after the Conference League this season, they've not lost.
Wow.
Which goes against sort of the usual agenda almost that people pushes. You play the Thursday, you play the Sunday, and it catches up with you. They've played 5 times this season. That did come into
my thinking.
They've not lost after the Conference League yet this season.
There you go. Well, that did come into my thinking, but perhaps it was ill-advised. So
yeah. I'm going to say Villa are going to continue their good run, not just because I've been forced into it. That's probably where I would have landed anyway.
Yeah.
3, which maybe isn't a good thing. 3-1 Villa. We're going to go with myself. They're just looking on an absolute tear. And when a team goes through a purple patch like this, I don't think it's going to be Brentford that are going to stop them. I do think they are going to peter out a bit, and I think 4th or 5th will probably be where they end up landing, but they're looking phenomenal. They're going to end up with a classic Unai Emery Europa position, I feel like. But it's going to look better because he's with Aston Villa, and they're looking very, very good the way they're playing football, the way he's got that team playing. The difference from when he came in after Gerrard to now is ridiculous.
You mentioned purple patch. Do you think it is just a purple patch, or do you think it's sustainable for them top 4 this season? Do you think that's a realistic goal?
I think purple patch might be a bit strong. This level of winning games or not losing games, to be more specific, there's a couple of draws thrown in there, I don't think is sustainable for this Villa side. I think they're very good, but they're maybe not at that level yet. But I think top 4, maybe top 5 is 100% sustainable for them. At the start of the season, we discussed, didn't we, Kiz, about Brentford and about Villa, and I think we sort of came to the conclusion that one of them teams was going to drop off and the other team was going to kick on. And I can't remember what you said there, but I know that I got it wrong. I thought that Brighton.
I think I had Villa in 6th, so I did have a feeling they were going to be sort of up there, but obviously we're still not quite halfway.
See how
yet,
that shakes out, yeah. But yeah,
It
I
could
went the
all
wrong way
change,
round, but that's the thing. One of those teams was going to stay in the mix, and the other one sort of dropping off a little bit down back into that mid-table, which Brighton seems to have done. But another weekend where we'll see how that shakes out. We'll see what happens. It's going to be another interesting weekend in the Premier League. I don't know where teams are going to falter. It's very much one of them seasons where teams can just crop up with a loss.
Yeah.
And I think that's where Arsenal and Liverpool are going to go away with it. I think Man City are too inconsistent to drop into this concept. Man City are too inconsistent. I don't think Villa have it yet in terms of pushing on for an actual title challenge.
Yeah.
And I think Arsenal and Liverpool by March will have gone away, and one of those teams will maybe be a few points ahead of the other, and the other team will be trying to keep up with them. But I think that's where we'll end up, is a Liverpool-Arsenal title challenge.
Okay.
Probably City 3rd, maybe Villa 4th if you're looking at it at the minute. Maybe another team will streak in. Would you sort of agree with that, or do you think it will stay with this four teams fighting back and forth?
I see City there right to the very end. I just think with City, when it goes into the second half of the season, they just enter a different mindset. You have De Bruyne coming back.
Will they still have that mindset, though?
I think so. The thing is, every season, we've said this at the start of the season, didn't we? Like, they'll lose a few games first half, people start writing them off a bit, and then they just become City and do what they do. But I don't know. It does feel a bit different this year. I think winning a treble, you can't have the same hunger.
100%.
I know they're pushing. In the media, they've sort of said, well, there's a bit of split opinion. Some say, you got a winning mentality. You always want to win. But I just think they can't possibly have the same hunger compared to an Arsenal or even a Liverpool. Yeah. I don't think so. But saying that, I think they'll be right up there till the end. I don't see like a big drop-off coming. I think it will be Arsenal, Liverpool and City all pushing each other. I think it's going to go right down to the wire this season.
Be an exciting season. Stressful.
Oh, yeah.
The bridges will be approached, but...
The days of just coming in 4th as the banker every year. They were stress-free times, really. You'd have the odd game where you'd lose 6-0 to the likes of Chelsea, but you take it in your stride and you just...
you would head to Tesco's.
Yeah.
A soul-searching walk around Tesco's was really the norm in the early 2010s.
It really was.
We've got 2 games left to predict. Here's up next. Another game Sunday afternoon. West Ham against Wolves. As I've put in my notes here, we're in for a good old-fashioned mid-off.
This was a hard one to predict, I felt. I didn't think too much about any of the others, but this one was a bit more thought-provoking on this one. So I landed on Wolves 2, West Ham 1. I feel like West Ham have really hit a bit of a blip at the moment. They just seem... I know they had that win against Spurs, but outside of that game, obviously they've just been pumped 5-0 at Fulham. Yeah. It's not great. And they just look a bit flat for me at the moment. I know they've still got quality players in the team. Obviously, Bowen, Kudos is looking decent, Paqueta. But I just think that they just look a team that turn up but can't really be all that bothered. And we spoke about Villa not having European hangover. I don't know what the stats are when West Ham play after Europe.
I have the stat here in front of me. They've got one loss in 5.
Okay.
No, sorry. They're 1 out of 5 after the Europa League. They have one win. Yeah. They have 1 loss out of 5 in the league.
Okay.
I read my notes wrong there. Yeah. But that 1 loss in the league in the last 5 is the 5-0 last weekend. How do you react to that? But then, you said about the Europa League. They only have 1 win in 5 after the Europa League, which doesn't look great.
Like that will probably play a factor then. I do see Wolves edging it. I think Wolves, again, struggled to find any real consistency this season. They come away with a good result and then they seem to go back a couple of steps. Obviously, they drew at home to Forest last week, which isn't a great result, really. Forest are they're down in 16th. They've looked quite poor. Probably would have fancied Wolves to win that one at home, but obviously they didn't. So I do think Wolves will edge that one. So 2-1 Wolves for me, but tough one to call.
Yeah, definitely tough one to call. As we say there, Wolves incredibly inconsistent. West Ham on a good run, and then how this is something we've always discussed when teams have these bad losses this season is how do you react? How do you bounce back? And that's the big thing, and that'll be another thing for West Ham this weekend. Wolves incredibly inconsistent, but they have only had 2 games this season that have been decided by more than 1 goal, and they were both losses. When they lost 4-1 towards the start of the season, and when they lost 3-1 to Liverpool. They're the only games that the result has been more than a goal's difference in them. I've gone 2-2 in this one. I think it's going to be another close game. I think it's going to end up being a draw myself.
Yeah, I think, quite easily could be a draw, that one.
Yeah.
Tough one to call that.
Last one in the predictions now, Kiers. We have Liverpool against Man United.
Wow.
United with a terrible recent record at Anfield. They last won at Anfield in 2016 in the league.
Yeah. That stat, coupled with the fact United are just absolute pony. Liverpool 4, United 1. I was umming and ahhing a bit whether I thought 4-0 or 4-1, but I think they might get a consolation when Liverpool are 4-0 up and they're just taking the piss and cruising. So I'm quite looking forward to hearing what you've got for me on this one.
United are not winning this game. There's not.
Oh, well, you've got no choice here, but you're going to go draw then.
I'm going 1-1. United are not winning this game. There is not a chance for me that United are winning this game. They are absolutely dreadful. It's like they're just floating through games. Like, I don't know how United fans must. Well, I do because I look at Twitter. But to be a United fan, to watch this team week in, week out, it's feeling more and more like Unai Emery Arsenal the more the weeks go on, of just floating through that sort of upper mid-table, 6th to 8th. No one really cares. The manager is floundering. When will he get sacked is sort of the repeating thing. And I see today, or it might have been yesterday, there's apparently Graham Potter's in the mix.
If that doesn't sum up that club right now, I don't think anything else could. I was actually in Manchester for work this week. On the day United were playing Bayern, and I went and saw a friend from uni, and he didn't even want to watch the game. So I think that sums up the current feelings of Man United fans at the moment watching this team. There's just no fight, no passion, no energy, more footwork. It's not good, is it?
Do you know what I mean when I compare it to
be a United fan right now?
Do you know what I mean when I compare it to that second Unai Emery season?
Yeah.
Where it was like that first 3-4 months of the year, up until him getting sacked around Christmas. Oh, it was probably the most miserable experience as an Arsenal fan. It just felt like nothing was happening. It felt like nobody cared. And you can really see that reflected at the minute with United.
Yeah, I think the argument with United recently has been they've still been picking up results. But it was never going to be sustainable because firstly, the performances were awful. You look at like McTominay scoring a brace in the last minute to beat Sheffield United, was it? Going back a month or so ago. But the amount of times they were winning games like that against teams right at the bottom, you could just see as soon as they start playing some half-decent sides. And it's the manner they're losing games. The thing is, you can forgive the odd loss here and there if the performance is good. Obviously, we were speaking after the Arsenal-Villa game. And to be honest, I wasn't as annoyed as perhaps I should have been, just because I felt like the performance was actually quite good. And I felt like we outplayed Villa, which when you're only 16 games in and you lose a game, but that the performance is to that level, you can kind of say, okay, if we play like that every other game, we're probably going to win 99% of them. But with United, it's never been like that. I can't think of one good United performance this season across any competition, which is madness, really.
Yeah, it's exactly that. They just, I'd maybe say that game they beat Everton a couple of weeks back, where they beat them 3-0, sorry. But that's probably the only performance where any sort of life has been in that United team. It's great to watch, don't get me wrong. I'm loving every second of them being miserable. But from a footballing point of view, it is dreadful.
And you got them to draw at Anfield.
I'm coming back. Enjoy your fairy liquid Baileys next week. Cheers.
Oh, it won't be me having that. I'll tell you that much.
Arsenic. Let's go. So, we got our predictions in. Can I pull off the most unlikely of comebacks? Let's wait and see. Let's all be praying for Fulham, Sheffield United, Aston Villa, Wolves and West Ham to have a nice level game, and same with Liverpool, Man United. We'll see how we get on. There's 5 other games this weekend, Kiers. I'll just read the games out we've got. You let me know if you've got any thoughts, any feelings, or we can just move straight on. You've got Forest Spurs, Bournemouth Luton, City Palace, Burnley Everton, Arsenal Brighton.
Well, I think, obviously, Arsenal fan point of view, I think I see us. I hate to say this. I'm probably going to curse it. I see us winning comfortably. I don't know whether that's pure delusion.
Well, no, because Brighton, talking of inconsistent teams, they're really mid-table team, mid-table performances, mid-table results, and we should be beating those teams at home. Whether we do or not, wait to be seen. But yeah, we definitely should be winning that. You're spot on there.
Yeah, they're just not the same team they were last season. So for me, I fancy us in that one. So fingers crossed on that. Other games, nothing really jumping out too much. I will be interested to see whether Luton can get a result at Bournemouth. Obviously, Bournemouth have really picked it up now.
Yeah, we were talking last
Luton
week.
Themselves, good performances.
Yeah.
So
we were talking last week, weren't we, about Bournemouth and how at the end of this run they could really find themselves creeping up the table. They're already doing so in 14th place, and if results go their way this weekend, they could jump up a couple of extra places as well.
Yeah, be interesting to see. Only other game to flag is City Palace, whether if Haaland's out, which kind of ties into a very brief FPL summary I think FPL. We can do. But obviously if he's out, how they'll cope again without their main man up top.
Talking of FPL, Keys, the big question we'll start with, do you have Haaland in your team for this weekend?
I do.
Oh.
But I'm going to try and see if there's any updates. I don't know if the press conferences are usually tomorrow for the games. But usually, not that Pep ever gives anything away. I think Pep Roulette is a well-known problem with FPL. But I might just wait till the last minute. I know the deadline's tomorrow, isn't it? Because
it is indeed 6:30 tomorrow. Make sure you've got it in.
I'm going to try and hold my nerve, because if Haaland's starting at home to Palace, you'd fancy him for a couple of goals. So I don't want to go too early, but at the same time, I've got Martinelli who's flagging up as a doubt as well, and there's a couple of players that are on my naughty list for the year. So they could be getting shipped out shortly. Obviously, Trippier as well is suspended, so I have him currently.
Yeah, those traffic lights are cropping up left, right, and centre over the last week in FPL. You mentioned Mbeumo there before. He's another one that's been out recently. Haaland, obviously. Well, I've gone, Kiers. You say don't go early. As soon as I saw about Haaland's family getting rid of him, gone. That came out earlier this week as his dad, his brother, his brother's girlfriend have all shipped him out before last weekend's games, and I've taken that as a sign from the heavens. He's out.
You've got the inside knowledge, mate. This is a level of FPL I can only dream of.
Have you not seen this on the old FPL Twitters?
I've not, which is strange because I follow a few of the old accounts. So
FPL Focal, Kids. FPL Focal on Twitter they've check across friends and family leagues, footballers, their leagues, all that kind of stuff, and check their moves and if they're sort of an avid player and those kind of things. And yeah, the family's got a league and they've all been binning him off.
There you go.
And in his replacement, Love actually is back in full force. He's back and he's captain.
Oh, straight back in and taking the captaincy.
And I've obviously got Fulham to win in the predictions, but hopefully something's got to give there.
Are you not slightly scared of the whole Wilson Isak rotation risk? Because obviously Wilson was preferred to start in their big Champions League game,
and that was one of the reasons why I feel like he'll start this weekend.
Okay. Well, we'll wait and see how that develops. I am hanging on to Haaland for the time being, but I'm going to wait and see tomorrow. If I forget, to do my team, it's going to be a very sad time for me. But yeah, a few players that are on the bin list, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Quick touch on last weekend there, kids, before we round off for the first half
I was trying to skim over
that. Well, I was talking to Haaland. It was a Haaland disaster for most people. He bloody saved me by not playing. I had Salah as my vice captain, 13 points. I was looking earlier. I was like, well, where are my other points? And I looked, and the highest points behind Salah was Sanchez with 3 in goal. Everyone else was 2s. And then I got 26 from Salah. Salah saviour. So I've got no big movements, but I've got some little gains, narrowing. I'm now 5 points behind yourself, Keir, 16 points behind our mini league leader. So a nice little week last week for me. Not as great for yourself.
27 points. Leno saved me, to be honest. 9 points from the big man in net. Other than that, Trippier -1.
Oof.
So not good at all from him, which was a bit of a disaster. Obviously, 4 goals conceded and a booking. A few other ones as well. I brought in Palmer this week, which I went against my own rule, is to not buy into any Chelsea players after he scored against United. I thought, they got a favourable run of games.
Yeah.
Well,
I can understand that. I nearly brought him in as well. I ended up bringing in Hwang, who did nothing. But I didn't nearly bring him in as well when I got rid of Embramo after his. So I can sympathise there, kids.
Yeah, but Haaland not playing screwed me over. I had Hwang as my vice, and 2 points.
Will you captain him this weekend? If you keep him, will you captain him?
It's a risk, isn't it? Because then if he comes off the bench like late doors,
where you leaning towards,
not great.
Yeah, where you leaning towards captain if you don't go with Haaland? Who's your vice? Would maybe be the better question.
Son's in as my vice at the minute. They're away to Notts Forest.
Yeah.
I think I just brought him in actually. So yeah, I think he would be my current favourite to be captain, but obviously dependent on the Haaland situation.
Yeah, the thing with Haaland, just to sort of maybe tilt you one way or the other, is after this weekend, I think he maybe has one more game, and then it's a Club World Cup, or is this his last game before the Club World Cup?
It's the last one. Yeah, they've got a blank week.
That was my plan. Is I was gonna keep that cap space for him to bring him back in after the Club World Cup games. So whether that tilts you, I don't know, but we'll see how we get on, Kiz. Another big weekend, and obviously fantasy will be another thing that counts towards the points. So another big points thing. Who will come out on top in the fantasy and win another point in the games? We will see. But that's all for the first half. If anyone has any thoughts on our predictions, FPL, any other Premier League thoughts, do drop us a message on Twitter @SideNettingPod, or leave a comment under the YouTube videos as well. But up next, we've got a nice Christmassy themed five-a-side. So the next half of the show, we're back with a new five-a-side. Now, with it being the middle of December, Christmas right around the corner, it'd be rude not to do a nice Christmassy themed five-a-side special. So what myself and Kieran have done is we've chosen 5 categories between us, and we will then choose one player that fits each category, and that will be our team. So the categories we've got that we're going to run through: the player most likely to have a pre-match Baileys just before they head out on the pitch, modern players, because if it was players from the 80s or 90s, it would be basically every single one of them. 2 is biggest Scrooge, so the grumpiest player you can think of, really. If you want to go the penny pincher route, you can, but the general vibe there is grumpiest player. Number 3 is the most meticulous Christmas tree decorator. So which past or present player would be the most straight down the line? Like your mum when trying to decorate your Christmas tree, and she's like, no, the red bauble has to be next to the white bauble, and then it's got to be the tinsel around the back. Who's the most like that? Who has the best Christmassy name? And finally, who's the biggest Santa? So I've, again, took that to mean sort of the best giver, the most giving player, but you can also just do the fattest. Yeah. Big love to Neville Southall. A bloody great man is Big Nev. Big love to Big Nev.
We love him.
So I've actually found this playing my easiest one. Like each one, I've like a player went straight to mine, and I've gone instinct this week.
I went similar. Christmas tree decorator was a bit more of a tough one for me, but I went down. I'll talk through it when we get to it, but I went down a slightly different route for that one. You know how my mind sometimes wanders.
I always love to get a little insight into your brain with these kids.
Not many get in-depth insight like this. So, and I was down. We spoke last time when the weird categories were coming out. Is the Warrington Air? I was down that neck of the woods again this week. So
they're back every time. You go north of the Watford Gap, as they say. Strange things happen to you.
They do. I think it's not just me. It's got to be for everyone.
Well, if you recall, when we had that coffin flipping chat, I was actually up north at that point as well. So
there you go.
There's a real running theme to being up north and strange conversations, topics, and chats happening on this podcast.
There is indeed. It's no coincidence.
Yeah. Are we ready to get into it then, Kiers?
Let's do it.
Well, the way we'll do it is I realised just before we started the second half is I don't have a goalkeeper. So someone's going to get lobbed in goal. But do you have a goalkeeper, Kiers? And if you do, we'll start with that category.
I do have a goalkeeper. So goalkeeper I've done under the biggest Santa.
Okay, have you gone big fat bastard?
Category. I've not gone big fat bastard. I've gone for the man, the myth, the still loved, despite being frozen out, goalkeeper, Aaron Ramsdale.
Okay.
I feel like if you got Ramsdale in a Secret Santa, he'd get you a really funny, like, banter present, but then he'd probably also get you a good one as well. Because I feel like he's a funny guy, but then he's got like a good heart as well. So I feel like if you're picking names out the Arsenal Football Club Secret Santa, you want Aaron Ramsdale's name. Yeah. You want him to pull your name out. And also...
he'd buy like a grow your own girlfriend, but then he'd also buy like a nice picture in a frame or something.
Yeah. I did see a video of him and his dad stealing baubles off the Arsenal Christmas tree as well. So you might even get one of them thrown in. I think he's got a few going spare by the looks of it. So
it's going to be like in Friends when Joey and Chandler handed out gifts from the petrol station. But it's just gifts off the Arsenal tree.
Where have I seen this before? Oh, yes. I don't know where I got it. Meanwhile, Ramsdale's been sniffing around everyone's kit bags and just pulling out their own items.
Just handing it back to him.
Yeah. Oh, what a man. Yeah, I feel like biggest Santa, I've given it to Rammers. Still loved, despite his problems this season.
I like that. I like that route you've gone down there. My biggest Santa, I've gone heavy on the biggest giver. And the most giving player I can think of is the absolute assist merchant that is Kevin De Bruyne.
I like it.
He's giving presents every single day of the year. Well, every single Saturday of the year when he's not injured.
Yeah. Which doesn't leave a lot of Saturdays at the moment.
An incredibly giving man is Kevin De Bruyne. He seems to have everyone on his nice list who plays for Man City, handing them goals out all over the show. So yeah, he's me biggest. We've gone two slightly different directions there. One that sort of loved the world over, would do a cracking gift, and one who just hands off a gift all over the show.
Yeah, the assist king. I think that's a good choice there.
So we'll go from biggest Santa. I think the next route would be biggest Scrooge, the grumpiest player.
There was one instant player that sprung to mind. It has to be Roy Keane.
It has to be. I love that man so much. I
could just picture Santa coming down the chimney and Roy Keane sat there. It's your job.
That's his job.
That's his job.
Everyone's there praising. Yeah, that's his job.
Roy Keane's 3-year-old child, delighted at Santa's visit. That's his job. He doesn't leave out mince pies. He doesn't leave out carrots. Do your job, deliver the presents, and don't make a fuss about it. It had to be Roy Keane.
Oh, did you see him after Dynamo was in the studio? In the Sky
I saw
studio?
The clip of Dynamo, but I didn't see anything from afterwards.
Just after, like Micah Richards and Jamie Carragher and Dave Jones, like, oh, how good was that? And Roy Keane you can see him realising what he's about to say and chuckling. He just goes, that's his job.
The fact he's aware of it's even better.
He goes with this little realisation he's about to say it, but he's already in his head, so it's got to come out his mouth.
That's brilliant. I did see a clip from the overlap recently as well, where Roy Keane said he doesn't do any presents, and it's all a load of nonsense. He's like, it's just for kids. It's just for kids. So I was like, Roy Keane, you are. Did you go for Mr. Keane himself as biggest Scrooge as well?
I love him so much. I think he is my favourite football media personality. Like, wasn't necessarily one of my favourite people when he played, but basically from the second.
Not by any means.
That road trip series him and Michael Richards did in the lead up to the Euros last year, or the year before last, I think it was actually, was one of the greatest YouTube series that anyone has ever done.
Yeah.
He's the bloody best. But if he was Scrooge in A Christmas Carol, who would be his ghost of Christmas past, present, and future?
Oh, that's a tough question.
Neville would be in there. Neville would probably be past. Do you reckon Neville would be past?
Yeah, Neville's probably past.
I feel like it's an easy option, but Mike has got present.
Mike has come in and know me better, man, all day long.
Come in and know me better, man. What the
that's
Muppets,
big Michael Richards vibes.
Yeah. The Muppets Christmas Carol, Ghost of Christmas Present is one of the elite characters in film. Big up to himself.
I'm seeing a lot. This has gone off on a real tangent.
From us.
I keep getting a lot of love on TikTok for the line "cheeses for us Mises" as well. That's getting
no cheeses for us Mises.
I'm seeing "This is my Roman Empire." I'm seeing "This made me who I am today." It's just everywhere for me. Whether that says more about me and my For You page is another thing.
Yeah, I have seen it maybe once, but it's not as often as yours seems to be.
It's a constant flow for me, mate. It's a constant flow. But if you're not on Muppets Christmas Carol TikTok, you're doing it all wrong, I'm afraid.
You're missing out. It's got to be all over the show. But to be fair, no cheeses for us Mises really is a part of all of us. It's in who we are. I was actually with a friend of mine yesterday who said one of the most shocking things. They'd never seen it. How you get to 22 in your life?
That's disgraceful.
And have never seen. Do you have a film? Not necessarily a Christmas film, kids. But do you have a film or maybe a TV show of yours that's like, I've just never seen it?
I think the Godfather films, I think, is one of those that everyone says are one of the best films of all time. But I've just never got round to watching it. But that's probably one of the only ones. And I'm not sure any others.
You've seen Friends now, haven't you?
I have indeed. I'm a slightly more avid watcher of Friends since... obviously, the recent passing of Chandler.
You were a late bloomer when it came to Friends, weren't you?
I was indeed, yeah. I was always a bit anti Friends. Well, not necessarily anti Friends, but I just never really watched it. Yeah, but more recently, yeah, I've got behind it.
Yeah, my one I'd say is either I've never watched The American Office, which I know that's a big one for a lot of people, or I know your one for me is I've never seen Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. You need to get on it.
It's just never happened. I don't know. It's like, by all accounts, it's a phenomenal film, and I should watch it. It's just never been put in front of you.
Yeah, I know what you mean. There's probably a ball of films I've not watched, like old, slightly more old school, like highly rated films, because I'm not a big film watcher, to be honest. A film buff, indeed.
Yeah, but no excuses on the Muppets Christmas Carol anyway.
What were you speaking about?
We've gone to Roy Keane.
Roy Keane, right?
I know we advertised tangents, but I think we maybe went too deep ourselves. We couldn't find the way out.
Yeah, it was just lost. It was like Alice down the rabbit hole. It was just no getting out.
Yeah, Roy Keane, easily the biggest Scrooge. There's no doubt on that one. Where should we go next, kids?
I think we'll go. Well, my defensive player I've got under Christmassy name, so we'll head there next. I've gone Per Mertercracker.
Oh, that's lovely.
Obviously, Big Per, the big friendly German, the BFG. I was trying to think through defenders, and I landed on the big man, so he went in.
That is fantastic. Well, I actually am now quite sad that I didn't go for a pun because I do, but I'm glad you did because that's cracking. Roque Santa Cruz. There had to be a Santa in there, and he was mentioned last week. I went nice and simple. It was the first one that came into my head. I went Route 1. I went Stoke 2011. I think I'm already leaning more your way with a fantastic pun there, Kiers. But
I did nearly go Santa Cazorla, but I ended up on Big Per. He was always going to be an Arsenal player.
And it was always going to be a pun as well, which I truly appreciate. I'm surprised
I know you love of a pun.
Yeah, surprised you didn't bring Andy Carroll in after you.
Oh, don't. You know what? When his name came to mind, I quite literally grimaced at the thought of the horror show from last week. For those who listened last week, it went down to the wire for the quiz, and well, to be fair, that wasn't the last question, but that did contribute to my.
That was where it was lost, Kiz. That was where it was lost.
That's where the head loss really kicked in. So yep. But anyway, moving on. Next category. Where do you want to head next?
We'll go Baileys. We'll go player most likely to have a little glass of Baileys before the game, maybe a little bottle of Baileys before the game.
Yeah, my thinking was more bottle.
Yeah,
mine was the bottle route because the player I've gone for is Jamie Vardy. As soon as drinking was involved before going and playing a match, there was one man who came to mind, and yeah, there was nowhere else for me to look. Jamie Vardy, the man fueled usually by vodka Red Bulls, is switching it up for this Christmassy edition with a litre of Baileys, which we can relate to ourselves after activities a couple of weeks ago, polishing off a bottle ourselves. But I think Jamie Vardy would do the lot to himself. So, and then probably go and bang a hat trick or get sent off, or a bit of both.
Well, these days he's sitting on the bench as well. So that really.
Well, I don't know. I think he's doing all right in the Championship this season. I've seen him rattling a few fans in recent weeks after scoring. So I feel like he's back. I don't know if he's starting games.
No, I think he's off the bench, so he has a little maybe 60 minutes there to let it fester, and then it's firing off. So I've gone a slightly different, notorious alcohol consumer, I should say. I've gone Jack Grealish.
Yeah, a good shout.
And maybe not even one, maybe a bottle with breakfast, a bottle in the changing room, and maybe if he needs one, another at half time.
Do you think he'd go and do the business after that?
I reckon he'd go and do the business. I reckon he is very much, if you could transfer one player from now to the 80s, personality-wise, I think Grealish is the player. I think Grealish would very much fit in with your Gazzers, your Paul Merson, Tony Adams, and all the like the notorious. The notorious. Well, I didn't want to say that because
it's true.
Oh, yeah.
It's true. Let's not beat around the bush.
Well,
there was a bit of a culture.
By their own admittance. They
had their demons, but I think Mr. Grealish would slot in nicely.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've got one more category to go here, Kiz.
We do. And so this is the one I wasn't really sure what route to go down. So obviously we've gone Christmas tree decorator. I went for more, they'd be very good at decorating the tree. And here's where I went a bit abstract. So
here we go.
I've got brackets next to my choice of flair merchant.
Okay.
So it's a player I think I've chose in a five-a-side team before, or definitely have mentioned on the podcast.
It's not Sarpreet Singh, is it?
It's not. Although,
what a shame!
Man.
What a shame!
Man. It's Adel Taarabt.
Oh my god!
I feel like he'd be pinging baubles left and right. He'd probably nutmeg the Christmas tree. The tree skirt would be on. He'd be flip-flapping the tree skirt.
But I don't think you'd end up with any baubles on the tree. He'd be too busy sort of dancing around the room with his...
I don't know. I think he'd ping her through one. I think he might, like, a little roulette of the lights around the tree. He'd be pirouetting in the middle of the tree. I think he would become the tree stand, and the tree would just whip its way round him, and he'd just be fucking spinning like a like a ballerina. That was the vision that I had in my head for this answer, and now it's coming out. It's just poetic, really. So I think even more so now. Adel Taarabt, in brackets, flair merchant. I think that man, multicoloured lights, there's baubles left, right and centre, there's little gingerbread men, you know, there's everything. There's everything. The flair merchant
gingerbread
himself.
Men on their tree.
Adel Taarabt.
What a guy. An originator, an original through and through.
He does what he wants, mate. He just goes to the range. He heads down the aisle with his arms out as if he's celebrating a 90+6 Maria winner. And he's just getting everything he can and just pinging it on the tree.
By all accounts, from what I've heard of him in training and things, he'd probably just get bored halfway through and you'd be left unfinished Christmas tree.
It's a possibility. But it'll look a hell of a tree to start with anyway.
So I've gone a slightly different way. And I've actually got a player manager here.
Oh.
Because he immediately came to my head. And I was like, oh, fantastic. Prominent player, current manager. We're fantastic here. Mikel Arteta. Arteta is absolutely straight down the line. He has everyone doing exactly what he needs to do, putting the baubles precisely where they need to go. He's going to be your most accurate Christmas tree decorator. And sort of as we mentioned earlier, where the vibe I went with is like when your mum's trying to order you to decorate the tree, and it has to be, it can't be like Christmas is thrown up on the tree and it looking all gaudy and like how I would have and like to decorate a tree, where it's an absolute, basically a disgrace. It's got to be a lot more straight down the line and proper and has to look nice. And I feel like that's very much would be Arteta's vibe.
Yeah, I can see that. Fucking hell, guys, get the fucking bubbles on. I feel sorry for his poor kids. The fucking bubbles.
The bubbles.
I can see it.
You can see me vision there, kids.
I can see the vision. It would be an immaculate tree. As you said in the description of this category, meticulous. I think that describes Arteta to a T. I think it would be every light in the right place.
Yeah,
the baubles.
Exactly.
He'd have an inverted bauble in the middle of the tree. And he'd call it Zinchenko.
As we've discussed in previous weeks, you love an inverted bauble.
Oh, mate. My love for an inverted bauble, knows no bounds.
So, we've got our final five here, Kiz.
Yeah.
Our Scrooge is already selected. Fantastic for Roy Keane there.
Keane straight in.
Santi, I think we need a goalkeeper. So Ramsdale selected himself.
Yeah.
Murder Cracker is a fantastic pun. So I think we're running through this here. Okay, now pick your alcoholic.
Take your pick. I think we'll go Grealish. I think the stamina he showed on that 2-week bender after City
it was
won
the
the
stuff
treble,
of absolute dreams.
It's nearly in the realms of the hardest geezer running around Africa. It was that level of stamina from Jackie Boy. So I think he's deserved just to see him after a litre of Bailey's, trying to skin defenders. I think that's
Pep
worth.
Would let him off as well. He's well known to be lenient, is Pep. He'll be fine with it.
He'll be fine with it. As long as he's doing the business, he'll be fine with it. So we got one last player, is it? Is that we've done?
Thuram versus Arteta.
Oh, well, on the back of his, should we say, bussing case today from the FA, Mickey Boy, his bus case, he's no FA charges. No Christmas in the slammer for Arteta.
Bin the podcast off and get into journalism immediately. I'm here outside the High Court where Mikel Arteta has just bust case. And we'll be on the sidelines this weekend. Back to you in the studio.
Well, I saw a tweet today saying FA Cup semi-final v City. Well, this is his record at Wembley. Tick. Final v Chelsea. Tick. Community Shield v Liverpool. Tick. Community Shield v Man City. Tick. Here and v the FA. Another big tick. So
he can't be stopped in Wembley.
He can't be stopped. I think as much as I love the thought of Thuram flip-flapping a bauble onto his Christmas tree and trying to nutmeg every branch in sight, I think we've got to go Mickey.
And on a bonus there with Wembley Kiss, where's the Champions League final this year?
It's at Wembley.
Another big tick.
You know what that means. Until we draw PSG in the last 16 and we do an Arsenal in the Champions League last 16.
Who's the worst team we can get? We'll get Copenhagen and go out in the round of 16.
Yeah, true Arsenal style. That would be beautiful.
We either get the worst team and go out or get the best team and go out. It is the history of the Arsenal.
Yeah, can't wait.
That's Monday, that, kids. Before we got a little bit of time before we finish off. Who would be? Obviously, Copenhagen are up there. Anyone else would be your dream draws?
I wouldn't mind Lazio either. I think Copenhagen and Lazio are my top two choices.
And who's your big fear?
I think PSG, even though they're not the team they were, I think, let's be honest, they've got Mbappe. And
they're always a danger, definitely.
That in itself is a scary enough thought for me to want to steer well clear of them. Other than that, Napoli as well, actually. Yeah. Napoli, I would not fancy playing Napoli. Very well drilled side, a lot of quality, very quick on the counter attack. So perhaps would be well suited to play us. So yeah, PSG and Napoli, big nose.
Agree with you there.
Anyone else, I fancy us. Even PSG and Napoli, I would fancy us, but obviously
they'd run us a bit closer. Yeah.
Yeah, be very tough. What about yourself?
I'd probably agree with you. There's potential banana skins all over the shop, really.
Yeah.
When you look at Porto, you look at Leipzig, Inter Milan, of course, Copenhagen. Look at the group they got out of.
Yeah, it's true. There's no easy games in the Champions League last 16.
100%. It'll be interesting draw Monday. I think it's 11 a.m. Monday morning. We'll see how that goes. But we'll round out with our team, kids, for this week. Our Christmassy side. Ramsdale, the big Santi. Scrooge, only one choice, Roy Keane. For a Christmassy name, Per Merter Cracker. Drinking a little Baileys before he heads out on the pitch with Jack Grealish. And decorating your tree within an inch of its life is Mikel Arteta. Happy with the side, Kiz?
Oh, beautiful. I can't wait to see them head down to the Power League cages.
They will only play in December.
Unlike Sunday League, where most games get rained off in December, they will play solely in the month of December and no other time.
Yeah. So, thank you very much for listening, everyone. We'll be back next weekend. Will probably be the release date for our Christmassy drink special. We'll have some games, we'll have some chat, and we'll just wind down for the new year. So see you all then. Kiers, thank you for joining me.
Pleasure as always.
Have a good one. Goodbye.
There goes Mr. Outrage. There goes Mr. Sneer.
He has no time for friends or fun.
His anger makes that clear.
Don't ask him for a favor, 'cause his nastiness increases.
No crust of bread for those in need.
No cheeses for us, me say.